Welcome to L&H Industrial, honestly better mental fitness. I found mental fitness a few years ago, and it changed my life. It's changed my family's life. And now we're bringing it to all of L&H Industrial to put it out to the rest of the world. Thank you for joining us.
I think this is one that just resonates with all of us. Why do people get stuck? What gets in the way?
Cool. Good question. The thought that comes to me on this one is sometimes we get stuck on the question of why. I think there's a lot of reasons, and it depends on what we mean by getting stuck. I'm kind of going to give two different answers here. I think the first is getting stuck on the question of why versus what now. Maybe something awful happened to you. Maybe you're facing this difficult circumstance in life. Maybe things didn't turn out the way you want them to. And maybe there was a betrayal in a relationship and you're stuck on why did this happen and how could they do this and how can this person have this have happened to me? And that can be a good question. You know, something goes wrong, asking why might be a great question, so you don't run into that thing again. And sometimes in life, the question is unanswerable, at least in this moment in time. Why did this thing happen in my life? And I might even define that a bit as like if something feels traumatic or not. I heard somebody describe it that was just got to the essence of it really beautifully to me. They said there was a truth that I could neither accept nor deny. I couldn't deny it because it happened, and I couldn't accept it either. And I just got stuck, and we get stuck on this spinning between this. I'm asking why, and then it is, but then I can't accept that it is, and we get stuck here. And I think the way out is asking the question instead of why, asking, okay, what now? And I think that's a bit of this future focused versus symptom problem focused of the whole idea between mental fitness training and symptom disease of like, okay, that happened. What now? What do I do now? I guess acceptance is part of what happens where people get stuck because they can't accept it. I can't accept that this happened or that I am this way or I did this thing or that person did this thing. And also I can't deny that it happened and I did this thing or they did this thing. And then I'm just stuck in this loop of like why and what's going on. And instead of asking the question of what is now, and deep acceptance and forgiveness is what leads to freedom. And the question of, okay, what now? I'll give an example in my own life. I trained for 3 years or 2.5 years in the Army Special Forces and got ready to deploy. And right at the end of that deployment, I got pulled because of medical conditions that were out of my control. And it's like, I spent this huge chunk of my life and then this happens. And then 6 months later, my good friend in training was killed on the deployment I was supposed to be on. And I was stuck in the why of like, why did this happen? And why me? And all of these things. And ultimately at that point in time, there was no answer to that question. There was only the question of what now? In what way can I live that makes it feel like me getting this gift of life when my good friend doesn't, that my life feels worth living, that my life feels powerful. There's a question of what now? I might not be able to answer why, but I can answer what do I do now? And so if you are in this place, it might be I struggle with alcohol, or I'm all these ways in my life that I don't want to be. I'm this way instead of that way. I'm that, not this. Everyone in my life is this. Okay, great. That is the way that it is. It doesn't mean that it'll always be that way, but I think starting at this place of acceptance of, right, I have this kind of kid. Right now, I'm that type of person. That is the way that it is. What now? What now? What do you want to do about it? Where do you want to go? How long do we want to sit here looking at it about why we think it should or shouldn't be or shouldn't have been this way? Why it's unfair or unjust or whatever it is. It is. What now? That's my first answer. My second answer is there is a really interesting thing that I might call the bigger category of maybe not so much stuff. Well, I guess it is very much connected to stuff. I would say, why are we so resistant to change? There is absolutely a resistance that comes up in change that we probably all see in each other. We're stuck doing the same things, even though we know it's not good, and yet we're not. And there are many different philosophies that talk about why this is and different labels for it. Kind of in more Western cultures, they call it like ego defense mechanisms and things like that. And more Eastern cultures, they talk about like the hindrances that people face. And it really has to do with fear and security. The devil that I know is better than the one that I don't. You know, I have a shitty sandwich here. It's better to just eat this thing than it is to risk having no sandwich, because if I threw it away and tried to do something else, I don't know that I would have that. The relationship that I'm in, it's not that great, but at least it's a relationship. It's something. It's better than nothing. Keeps me from moving on to that. I'd say fear is at the root of it. I think fear is at the root of a lot of things. But I think the fear and the resistance to change comes up really strongly. Part of it is familiarity, doing something different. I go say fear and energy conservation is probably like two of our primary drives as human beings, right? Because doing things and learning new things is expensive. You can think of someone sitting in the wilderness and they don't, they're hungry, right? And there is this question in wilderness survival, and I've done a lot of work in this area. There is a question of, if I sit here and just eat the 3 berries that I have, I'm not going to die, but I'm not going to feel great. If I go out and try to hunt something, I might catch something and get a lot of calories and feel great. But I also might catch nothing and then be in a far worse position than I am now, because I just expended all of these calories trying to find something and failed. And I think that's a bit of an analogy for this change. Our bodies kind of have, like, physiologically, we have this drive to conserve energy and to not take risks. And so that is what keeps people stuck often. There is also a deep feeling that comes up that this is a bit of the know thyself. Like, if you hired a carpenter and you want to expand your kitchen, and he just gets out a sledgehammer without looking at any blueprints and starts knocking out all these walls to expand your kitchen, probably get a little worried. You'd be like, hey, before you take down that wall, we should probably understand what's being supported by this thing. And there's some resistance that comes up in us. Well, if I get more compassionate, will I still be able to make hard decisions at work? And this fear comes up a lot. If I change this about me, what else? What other ripple effects or consequences are going to come up that I'm not even aware of? And so there is this fear, resistance, hesitance to change. Will it work? Should I just accept what I am now? Will I make things worse? And so then we end up getting stuck. And I think sometimes we get prisoners in our own mind. And had someone go through a lot of this transformational work, and at the end they're like, I felt like a prisoner my whole life, and I realized I've been sitting here and the door's been open the whole time, and I've been the one that has been keeping me here. I thought I was locked in this place, but it was me keeping myself in this place because I was too afraid to venture outside. And I think that is the question that Mike started this week with. What kind of life do you want to live? Do you want to live a life that's safe and dull and boring and uncomfortable? Or is there something in life worth risking for? Is there a way of life that is worth going and leaving the safety of your little box that you're in right now to try and explore something new? And I think that's a lot of the question that I ask people, because life is inherently dangerous. Life is inherently risky. Change is inherently dangerous and risky. And the question I ask people often is, in what way could you live that is so powerful and profound that it's worth risking being hurt for, being rejected? It's worth failing. In what way could you live that you would rather fail at attempting than sitting here safe and doing nothing?